Hey, welcome back to the shop. I know it's been a long time since I've posted any videos. Um, Getting back in it a little bit here, so working on the hot rod. In one of my videos when I was talking about the fuel injection, I had mentioned briefly about, the AN fittings, and just a little bit about how the sizing works on them, and somewhere here recently, I guess, I was looking, I saw some videos on how to assemble AN fittings on the braided line, and there's like a bunch of videos about it, but I watched a number of them, and some of them, I just thought it was really bad advice. So I'm going to show you what I do. I think it makes it real easy, and talk about these fittings a little bit. So we're talking about the AN fittings. The Army Navy spec goes back many years. But they're aircraft quality, high pressure fittings, 37-degree flare on the inside. They're good to better than 1,000 psi. There's two different types. I wanted to I guess caution you. So most of the hose that you buy, you go to Summit or whatever, you buy a length of line like this, right? So this is a 3/8 line, so it would take a -6. And we talked about the sizing of this. They're in 1/16 of an inch. So if this is a -6, so that means it's 6/16 of an inch. This is the ID of the hose that you'd use it on. And 6/16, you divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. It's 3/8. So it's a 3/8 line. And you can do the same thing all the way up to, a -16 would be a 1 inch for a 1 inch line, right? -12 for a 3/4. So on and so forth. Okay, so you get that. One thing I wanted to, just briefly, well, before I forget. So most of the hose that you buy, the line, you can see it's a rubber line with the stainless braid on the outside, and those would use a fitting kind of like this. I'll spin it off here quickly. Hello, like that. So this goes on the end of the hose, this goes into the hose, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to show exactly how to do it here in a few minutes. But so this is for this, rubber lined. It's not rubber. It's some sort of a, obviously some sort of a rubber type. But I want to caution you because there's a different type of lines. There's PTFE lines, Teflon lines, which basically have a tube in the center, a hard plastic Teflon tube, and those use a fitting that looks like that guy, which is different than that guy, and you can see the difference there a little bit. Don't try and use these on this rubber type line. This is only for PTFE, so if you try and lose them, I think you'd have a failure. They'd blow off of there. I'm not really sure, but you just want to be careful of that when you're ordering this stuff, right? Because they're definitely different, and one won't work on the other. So I'm going to move the camera around and show you a couple things here more in detail about these fittings. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to actually put a fitting on here on one of these lines here. But there is one other thing I wanted to mention about these fittings, and that's, they all look alike, right? But be careful where you buy them from. And the reason being, if you get some of these, all right, so putting my Christian hat on, imported versions, right? You get the imported versions, they're metric. They use metric wrenches. And so you need a metric wrench to install, to put them together, you need metric tools. And then if you mix these up on your hot rod or whatever you're putting it on, you'll be taking a fitting off, and you'll get part of it done, and you go to the next one, and the wrench doesn't fit. It's like, oh, well, this one is an oddball. It's the import version. So I highly recommend you get the SAE stuff. So now these I bought these are from Summit. They're Summit brand. They have the right configuration, right size fits on them. They're for this one, it's I think 3/4 and 11/16 is what you need to install them. But I'm going to show you that here in a second. So, but I just wanted to mention that when you buy these, because I have run into that before. It's frustrating at best. Okay, so I guess the first thing I want to talk about is, you know, cutting this cable, right? This stuff here, you look at it, it's like, so I got this piece, I just bought I don't know, I guess it's a 6-foot piece. But you see it comes, and I was surprised the end wasn't even taped up. Usually you tape the ends up so, you know, stuff doesn't get in there, spiders, whatever. But so you see the end, it's all frayed. There is no way you're going to be able to slip this over that once it frays like that. And as soon as you cut it, it's going to fray. It's just, you know, because it's woven tightly on machines over the rubber line, and when you cut it, it's going to release a little bit of pressure. So you can't, you're not going to be able to get it on there. So you got to make a nice clean cut. And there's a trick to it. I'll show you here in a second too. But I mentioned I'd watched a couple of videos of guys doing this, and it's like, one guy said you can use a hacksaw. Oh, you gotta have 32 teeth per inch hacksaw. You know, don't even try it. Don't even try it. These are little tiny wires, and I haven't mic'd them, but they're only a few thousandths thick, and they're sharp as snot. You know, you'll be, if you're not careful, you'll be bleeding putting these things on if you're not cautious. So, anyways, be real careful with them when you're cutting them. I've seen guys use the big wire cutters. I actually have a pair here. What they'll do is they'll run some tape around it and cut it, right? And I haven't had much luck. I've got a good pair of Greenlee cutters. Maybe they're not made for, well, they're not made for stainless, right? So it ends up, you cut through most of it, and then you get 1 or 2 strands that just didn't go through, and then you gotta fight with it and wrestle with it, and then by the time you're done, it's all frayed again. So anyway, so this is how I do it. I want to show you that this is like, it's really easy. So here, I'm gonna roll the camera down, you can see what I do. So first of all, I'm gonna, so take this in, same thing here, this is all frayed. You wanna take some electrical tape, and this is good. It's 3M, it's nice, and it offers some stretch. It doesn't like stretch out and then stay, right? So, you know, put it down there and tape it. Put some tape on it and stretch it out. Stretch it out as you put it on there. Stretch it tight. Make it good and tight. Stretch it tight. Make it, right, get it good and tight on there. A couple, 4 or so wraps with it. Right? Okay. So what that does is that kind of squeezes it, since you're stretching the rubber on the tape when you put it in, it kind of squeezes it down a little smaller diameter. So now we want to cut this here. So again, I wouldn't use a hacksaw. You just, you know what, you're just asking for misery. The cutters, maybe if you have a really good pair, that might work out okay, but usually what happens is it ends up flattening one end, the end that gets cut. What is really a good tool, in my opinion, is this guy. This little Milwaukee. It's a 3-inch cutoff wheel. And all right, so watch here. So I'm gonna come up here and go right in the middle of the tape there, and we're just gonna cut through it. So here we go. Okay, now it stinks, right? You smell that rubber burning. But I got all the way through, and I didn't fray it. It's not frayed. The other thing I want to tell you is that when you clamp it in a vise when you do it, you know, it takes like 3 or 4 hands to do all this work. Put it in a vise, and I highly recommend using these soft jaws, these aluminum soft jaws. Here, let me show you. Because what they have is they got a little groove cut in them here. And sorry, my camera's drooping down. And so you can clamp it in there. It holds to the hose and doesn't crush it, right? And so now look at the end we got. It's nice and, you know, it's pretty good shape. It's not all frayed out. So what we're gonna do now, okay, I can take the tape off, right? I'm gonna put it back in here. I just pulled it out to show you what those jaws look like. Those soft jaws, and you can buy these soft jaws for you know, really inexpensive. They're just a few bucks. So, like that. All right, so I've got it snug down there pretty good. It's not going to move. Okay. So the next thing is, we need to put this sleeve over it. All right, so how these work is, you know, typically the, you know, these are made to be assembled and disassembled by, you know, in your shop. If you were in a production run or something, you know, where there's automotive or some sort of a commercial deal, that you wouldn't have a setup like this. They'd have this fitting, you'd slide the hose over, and there'd be a ferrule that slides over the top of it, and then go in a press, and it'd be crimped on, right, and done. Well, so what it does is when you crimp it on, you're compressing the outside diameter around the center, this part of the fitting, right? And that's what grips it and holds it on. Well, we don't have that. What we're doing is we're basically expanding the inside of it. When we put this in the end of the hose, let me see that. This starts out skinny, and then it tapers. You can see it's fatter and fatter and fatter. So when the hose is inside this, and you drive that in there, it expands the hose out, and that basically gives you the same thing as a crimp. We're just doing it from the inside instead of the outside. Okay. So now, put this on there. We want to put this on. Well, obviously you got a hot rod. You want it to look nice. You don't want to have a bunch of torn up, crappy looking fittings and stuff. Blue painter's tape. Easy stuff. Take a piece of this and just put it over the threads. I'm sorry, not the threads, over the hex of this outside ferrule. Right? Sorry, you can get that in there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to push this on here. Now, if you look on the inside of this guy, it has, well, I guess you could call them threads, and they're left-handed. So what you do is you push this on there, you rotate it counterclockwise, you know, looking at the stand, counterclockwise, and that'll pull it up over the braid. So let's do that. So now, again, typically you have to have 3 hands to do all this stuff. You know, I've done a bunch of these by myself, so I figured out some tricks. One thing you do, so you put tape over this so your socket doesn't mar. Now this one takes a 3/4 inch socket. I'm going to put my socket on there, right? And now I got this guy. All right, now I know there's some guys out there that are cringing, right? I'm going to put this on counterclockwise. Put this right on here, right? And let's see if I can get it on there, because you can't get the thing started otherwise. And some guys might say, hey, you still got that tape on there. Well, you know what? I'm pretty confident that tape doesn't matter. All right, you see it come right up? And look on the inside there. We're all the way. Look at that. That little piece of rubber tape in there ain't gonna matter, because those teeth are gonna cut right through that, right into the stainless. So you know, I wouldn't be. Okay, so look, it's on there. It's easy peasy, right? Let me show you here. And you can see, maybe you can't see, the end of the hose is right there, man. Maybe you can see it a little bit there. The end of the hose is right there. Okay, so now, let's put it back in the vise. It's really hot out here again. I don't know why I do these videos in the stinking summer. It's like, what's today, July? Something. It's hotter than a pistol out. Okay, so now we got that ferrule on there. So now we want to put this other end on, right? So we just need to get it started. What I like to do, take this stuff, just a little silicone grease, put a little dab on the end, right? I put a little dab on the end, and then just kind of get some on the threads there a little bit, right? Because remember, this is going to be crimped, so, you know, once it's in there, it ain't going anywhere. So now, you kind of got to get it started. All right? Starting real easy. Okay, now stop right there. Now, next thing we want to do, take a marker. We want to make sure we want to make sure that when we drive this in, that the hose doesn't slip out of the ferrule and slide out of the ferrule. So take your Sharpie now before you get crazy with it, and put a nice big mark, black mark, on the hose itself, or on the braided line, so that you can see it. You could use a piece of tape if you wanted to, if you feel better with that. So now, same thing. You put a wrench on there, the hose is going to bend, it's going to be a pain in the ass. So get this guy. Get your deep well socket. This is 11/16 for this fitting. Now look what I did. I put, you can't see it, can you? I put some nuts and some washers inside of it, so that when, hold on, let me get it out here. I have another fitting to show you. So that when I put this on here, I want to make sure I capture this edge to turn it in, but I don't want the socket to rub and mark up this finish. So what do? I'll do that, right? So those nuts in there, just keep it so it just, sticks out far enough, and the socket won't hit. So it's just bushing is all it is. So now again, I'm going to go back with the tape. I don't want to make these videos too long because then people don't watch them. But, this is stuff that I think guys that don't know like to see. So, all right, so I got that on there. Now let's see, this should be able to slide that over there. There we go. All right, now see how that is? It's all the way up into that. Now I can just take, again, now we got to change the direction of this, going right-handed. Now watch. Now it's going to get hard to go through there because we're compressing it, right? All right, hold on. I think we might want to finish that off with a wrench so we don't tear that up. I marked it a little bit. Okay, so anyhow, that's how you do it. That's how you get that baby on there. I got a little bit more to do. I'll put a wrench on there, I think. Because I don't want. Now let's check to see if we slip. No, so it didn't slip. My black line is still there. All right, so I had to take a break. It was so hot, I had to go get something to drink. So, anyhow, so now that we've got this socked up there, now I'm just going to loosen the vise. Now I'm going to actually clamp this fitting in the vise. Again, just a little piece of tape around it just to protect the finish, the anodized finish on there. And again, the vise has those soft jaws, so I can bring that up, get a good grip on it. Now what I do, I've switched to, I lost my little washers and stuff here. I've switched to just a regular ratchet. I want to put some tape on that too again, so I don't tear it up. Now again, you don't have to mess with the tape and stuff if you don't, if you're not that concerned about it, but I like to try and make it look nice if I can. So we'll get that up there. Slide that all up in there, get up. It slid a little bit. Okay, so now I can finish it home rest of the way with my ratchet in there. That's bottomed out. Okay, pull it off of there. My little spacers all went flying. Loosen that up. Take that tape off. Peel this tape off. And there. I got a nice looking fitting. Guess I got some tape stuck in there a little bit, but anyhow, good looking fitting. It's on correctly. It's tight. It ain't coming off of there. So now I should have mentioned this before, but yeah, I'm going to cut this. This is going to be a short piece. I only need like a 6-inch piece here. So I'm going to cut it and put another end on here. But what I wanted to show you too is, before I put it in service, you want to make sure you blow any of that stuff out of there, that, you know, the rubber and stuff. So you take one of these guys and just, you know, make sure everything's good and clean. This will go all the way down into there. So, and these things are awesome too. These Leland gas technology things, they just really, they kick ass. Anyways, that's how you do it, to make up a good solid quality fitting. Again, you know, granted, they're kind of a pain to do, but they're really not that bad. You just got to be a little patient with them, I guess. But you want to make sure you get them on there properly so you don't have any issues with them. So anyhow, that's what I got for AN fittings. I am going to do another video. A while ago, I was messing with the methanol a little bit, and you know, I've got a barrel of it here and some other stuff, and I wanted to test the purity of it. So I've got a hydrometer and a graduated cylinder, and I measured the purity of my methanol, and so I'm going to do a video to show you guys how to do that too. Obviously, you know, it's hygroscopic, absorbs moisture out of the air quickly, so it'll render it, you know, useless if you let it sit open for any length of time. Now the barrel I have here, although it's been sealed, I've opened it a couple times just to take off a few gallons here and there, but I've had it for a number of years, so I wanted to test it. But it still turns out I got about 99.8 or 9% pure methanol in it. So, but I'm going to show that, and then I'm going to do a little comparison about, again, between methanol and like race gas, and you know, why you might want to use one over the other. Kind of like the good, the bad, and ugly, I guess, on methanol. So anyways, hey, thanks for watching. Again, if you find my content useful at all, you know, do a like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And if you want to send me a cold beer, it's hotter than hell out here. Send me a cold beer. There's a link down below where you can send me a cold one. So, all right, hey, thanks, guys. Again, I hope this is useful to somebody, and we'll see you next time. Take care.